This is the tutorial for Chapter 28 in your Beginning AutoCAD workbook. Okay, so in Lesson 28, we're going to figure out how to assign multiple annotative scales to a single object and how to assign annotative scales to hatching. So I opened up my file called Annotative Objects that I made back in Lesson 27. If you didn't do that yet, go back to 27 and create it. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to delete these dimensions in the right hand view only. I'm going to come down and I'm going to turn on Show Annotation Objects. So the dimensions and the text are shown in both viewports, but the ones over on the right are really tiny. You can't read them. So the scale of the annotative objects have to match the scale of the viewport. So the viewport on this side was 1:4, the viewport on the other side was 1:1. If I go in near that dimension, my little scale symbol comes up. So I want to go to my Annotate tab, my Annotative panel, select this dimension that's on the right, select Add Current Scale, turn off my visibility, and see when I come back near here, then I have my two scales show up. So let's click on that dimension and let's move them up. Okay. And if you wanted the lettering to work, you would have to do the same thing to the lettering. If you wanted to, you can remove scales, so same thing, add delete scales. You have to select your object first, sorry. And this is just if you have, this is just for if you have a couple of viewports set up. So if I wanted my dimensions, if I wanted the objects to show in both, but I only wanted the dimensions to show in the left, say. So delete scales, delete. Delete. Sorry guys, I was stuck in a circle there. I was hitting OK instead of delete. So now I have both my views, but my dimensions are only showing up on the left-hand view. If I turned on that annotation button again on the bottom, it'll show all the dimensions, but again, they don't match this scale, so they're not readable. So just keep that turned off. So the last part is to add an annotative hatch. So we're going to come home, come in here, go to our hatch layer, I'm going to select hatch. I want to turn on annotative, undo. Sorry, before I select hatch, I want to go in and activate my viewport. Okay, so hatch, annotative, click in there, close hatch. So now I have hatching there. If I turn on my annotation button in the bottom, you can see the hatching on the right. But let's add a scale so that it'll show up properly on the right as well. So this is the one that I want to change. So I'm going to do add current scale again. So it's changed my hatching to the 1 to 4 scale. Okay, so just when you're working, a lot of it is making sure your correct viewport is activated, making sure you have show annotation on or off, and then just assigning the current scales, making sure you have all the scales attached to the objects that you're trying to make annotative. Okay, so that's the end of lesson 28. That's the end of the tutorial for chapter 28.